If we knew then what we know now, we would have never got involved in real estate investing.
Thank goodness we had no idea just how challenging it was going to be to start building long-term wealth through real estate investing.
We had many times where we wanted to give up because of all the mistakes that we're going to share with you on this video today. We're going to share with you our biggest mistakes, and that way you can learn from it. If you haven't already subscribed, click the subscribe button and ring the bell so that you get notified every week when we drop a new video.
We have been in this business for nearly 2 decades, and you know what? I think that we've pretty much made every possible mistake. There were times where I didn't feel like it was sufficient to make that mistake only one time, so, let me go ahead and be an overachiever and make the same mistake twice.
Speak for yourself. I learned the first time.
One of the very first mistakes I ever made, I was a brand new real estate investor. This was 2003. So when you're investing in real estate, anytime you're going to send funds to anyone, you are always and only sending money to the title company, to your closing agent. And I recognize that in different parts of the United States, that might be called the escrow agent, and it might be the title attorney. So whoever your third-party closing agent is, that's the only place you're ever going to send funds. So your earnest money deposit, any additional earnest money, your closing funds. You don't send money to anyone else. So the very first mistake that I made was my very first deal. There is a guy, his name was Manuel. He took a lot that had a single house on it. He basically cleared it, and it was a large enough lot to be able to put 3 single-family homes on. Well, I was brand new to real estate. I was so green. I had basically the only education I had was going to some $2,000 3-day overview on real estate investing. So I knew lots of things that got me excited, but I didn't actually know freaking anything for real. So there was an opportunity for me to put down a $20,000 deposit on each of those 3 lots. Well, I didn't have any money of my own, so I was able to go raise $40,000 from 2 different investors. And so I took one of those $20,000 deposits and I put it down on one of the lots, and the other was on the other. And it was going to be a situation where I put down $20,000 and ended up getting back $60,000 when the sale was made, because the developer, he just needed some capital to be able to keep going. What I know now is I would never give the developer money directly. I would give it to the title company, third party, because that's the only way it's protected. I ended up giving $40,000 to the developer, who went ahead and started getting the plans and started building the homes, and I thought everything was great, everything was fine. And where was my $40,000? Gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, and I got to talk to the title company. What title company? There was no title company. I can't even tell you how many new investors get ripped off from that. So the lesson is, do not ever send any money to anyone other than the title company. So one of the things, if you're new to real estate investing, especially if you're in Facebook groups or LinkedIn, one of the things that you see happening sometimes is you have people who say that they're private money lenders, right? And they'll contact you. They usually have a Gmail address or something, and they're like, oh yeah, we'll lend you 100% of the money you need for your deal at 5% interest with no collateral, no experience, no nothing. I mean, come on.
Your greatest dreams come true.
All of your dreams will come true. But when you're new, you want it so bad, and you're so hopeful that...
Because you just left the 3-day event pumped.
Exactly.
Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah. And so you want it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I could get into this with no money. I could make this happen. And so you're open, unfortunately, to a scam. And the scam is they basically get, and they have you fill out an application. It seems very real. And then right when they're like, okay, so, we're going to close in the next week. We're going to wire the money right to your account, but we need, $2,000 or $3,000 as part of our underwriting fees in order to process the loan. All right, so any legitimate lender, even if they do have a $2,000 or $3,000 fee, they don't ask you to send that money to them ahead of time. That money always comes to them when the deal closes, and it comes to them from the title company.
Because I want to share mine. My very first mistake, right? I have a little bit of an ego. And I think,
Stop.
I know, cut it out. I feel like, if I have a blueprint, I could probably figure this stuff out, okay? And it was even worse in my 20s. So back in 2003, same thing, seminar, this lady was like, woohoo, we're gonna go after foreclosed properties, all the things, right? I was like, sign me up. So there I go, get my first property under contract. It was a condo. It was a little 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo, complete whole, okay? I was like, oh no, but I see opportunity, right? I'm gonna make it so beautiful. And I had this big old vision about just how beautiful it was gonna be. So I enlisted the help of some family Being my father and my brother, right? Because, you know, they used to do things around the house when I was growing up and they were pretty handy. So why not? So I inspected the property first of all. Let's just start with that.
Oh,
I inspected the
never
property.
heard that part of it.
And I'm 23,
Wow.
don't know what in the hell I'm doing, okay? And I'm like, you know what? It can't be that hard. It can't be that hard. I watched our house be built as a kid. We had a custom built house from the sand up. And I went there every week with my dad and he would show me stuff. I was like, I got this. And my dad came and saw it and he was like, what in the actual beep are you thinking doing this? So he's like super methodical and doing all the organization and we need to do this and cutting corners we can scrape the ceiling. It had popcorn ceiling in it. Do you remember popcorn ceiling? So this basically started to turn into a bonding project with Pops versus a business model, okay? Because I was doing the work myself. We were having fun. I was swinging the hammer. Here it is, me, my dad, and my brother, all three of us run into Home Depot to get what we need for the day. We get there. It's like seeing a shiny object whenever you get two men at Home Depot and they're like, look at this though, and look at this. Couldn't decide on things. We ended up going to Home Depot on average 3 times a day. Things start going wrong. At the end of the day, I made $1,500 on that flip.
Wait, for how long did it take you guys?
And it took us 7 months. Okay, because we didn't know what we were doing. So I didn't sign up for my next flip for another 3 years. That's how bad it was. So for me, the learning is I wasn't an expert. I didn't know how to inspect that property. I didn't know what I was getting into. I did not hire a licensed contractor. I hired my dad.
Do you feel like, you talk about swinging the hammer and instead of stepping into the CEO, do you think that's something that's common for people when they're just getting started?
Yeah, and I think the reason why is because before you and I met, so when I met Stacy, I didn't know Stacy back then, but she was the first one to introduce the whole remote concept to me because when I was in California swinging a hammer and trying to do my flips, I wasn't making much profit. And the idea of going out to another state to me was like, oh no, I can't do that. That's impossible. And I think it's because I'm just, number one, I'm a control freak. So I couldn't even think outside of that box, right? But I think that's a common problem. I think a lot of people feel like, no, I gotta touch it, I gotta feel it, I gotta see it, I gotta do the things. And when you get caught in that trap of controlling and it constricts you, right?
All right, another mistake that I made, especially in the beginning, was spending too much time analyzing deals. So I was the person that was stuck in total and complete analysis paralysis. One of the things that's super common for people who are new to investing and have more analytical type brains, so people who tend to be attracted to fields like accounting, me, or engineering, or just very analytical, you will want to analyze and study everything to death before you make a move. It didn't cost me money, like I didn't lose money directly because of it. However, if you think about it, how many opportunities did I miss out on because I was unwilling to just pull the trigger? When you submit a real estate contract, you're always going to put in there a due diligence period, an inspection period. So you can just like breathe and relax a little bit because just go in and get some basic information, run your numbers and submit the offer. I mean, how often is your offer get accepted anyway?
Right.
When you get an offer accepted, that's the time where you can go and investigate it. So when I was new, even on a basic small property, I would put in 8, 10, 12 hours of analyzing this property over like a few days. And I'm like, okay, all my T's are crossed, my I's are dotted. And I'd be like, okay. And I go submit the offer. I wanted to throw up because I was so terrified out of my mind. I'd finally get the guts and I'd submit the offer. And one of a couple things would happen. Either one, the agent would be like, okay, we'll submit it. And they'd be like, oh, I'm sorry, they said no. Or I'd submit my offer like, okay, here it is. Like I was putting in some kind of dissertation or something like that. And the agent would be like, oh, well, I mean, thank you for your offer, but we accepted an offer 2.5 days ago. Oh, the lesson is this: don't overanalyze. Do not get into analysis paralysis because frankly, by the time you're done getting out of analysis paralysis, the deal was already swooped up by us or any of the number of people that we have trained to take action. And then you're gonna go investigate and figure out like what's real about the property.
Hey, if you like what you're seeing in this video so far, click the like button below. What was the biggest surprise that you had in this business?
Actually, the funny thing is it's not even related to real estate investing. The biggest surprise for me, and I really started to realize this around year 4 or 5 going in, was the amount of personal growth that I was experiencing as I faced challenge after challenge after challenge. It was shocking. And when I started doing real estate investing, I thought, well, yeah, I'm going to grow in real estate investing. I'm just going to learn everything about real estate. And I was so excited about that. And, you know, I look back now and I'm like, I am a completely different person now. That has been the biggest surprise because I was not expecting that.
You know what? Get ready for growth, guys, because that's going to happen for you too. As a matter of fact, put in the comments what your biggest challenge is. And like, what's your biggest challenge or your biggest mistake in real estate investing? And then, we'll chime in and try to help you out. Here's my biggest mistake. And it's an $80,000 mistake. It was really cool. I'll just go ahead and put that right out there. You heard it right. $80,000 mistake. Good stuff. This was when I decided, again, you know what? I realized it's my ego that gets in my way every time because I decided I didn't need an inspection. I don't need it. It looks good. We're going for it. So I got this under contract. I was going to do a flip and literally go through this whole process only to find out that it has a post and pier foundation. If I ever see it again, if I never saw it again, it'd be too soon. So in this particular situation, the post and pier foundation, it was bad, really bad, like cracked beyond belief. And I didn't get the inspection, so I didn't know. So now the contractor comes back to me and he's like, all right, this is what we got to do. We're going to have to actually lift the entire house up, get somebody in here to pour a whole new foundation. And I was looking for the nearest pencil to stab myself in the eye. The first one comes back and he's like, all right, it's gonna be $40,000. And I was like, wrong answer. The next one comes in, he's like, yeah, it's gonna be 30 grand. I just say, forget it. I'm gonna sell it as is and take a loss because at this point in time, I didn't have the cash available due to being in other deals. So I was like, screw it, I'm gonna sell it as is to another investor who can come in and do this thing all over again. So I took an $80,000 loss when I sold that property. So mic drop, what do you got now?
The next one I want to share with you guys is the 1% rule. Have you guys heard of the 1% rule before? The 1% rule basically states that whatever you buy the property for, you want to make sure that the monthly rent is at least 1% of that amount. So Jen and I lived in San Diego for a long time and we did not invest in San Diego. And here's one of the reasons why. So in San Diego, I can buy, let's say, a single family home for $700,000, you know, something real basic, super cheap, $700,000.
For a studio.
Right? We would have to be able to rent that house out to someone for $7,000 a month. And that just it was not even remotely close to that. So San Diego as a market didn't meet the 1% rule, which means it really isn't a cash flow market. In other markets, let's say you're in Kansas City, and let's say you buy a duplex, right? Multifamily always works better for cash flow. But let's say you're buying a duplex for $150,000. And each side rents out for $750 each. So $750 and $750 is $1,500 a month. Well, $1,500 a month is 1% of the $150,000. So cool, it meets the 1% rule. That's not the only metric. The one other thing you want to look at is, do the prices actually make sense compared to the rents? 1% rule. So, okay, that's the background. Well, the mistake I made was thinking that the 1% rule was actually an analysis tool. Like I could analyze the deal. So if it was $150,000 and I could get $1,500 a month rent, well, then that means I can move forward and buy the property safely, right? Totally logical. So there's certain parts of the country where the property taxes are much higher as a percentage of the purchase price than in other parts. So at the time, I lived in California, and California taxes were, I think, like 1.25%. And so I thought, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Well, I was starting to invest in Detroit. So this was when I was really new. And I was like, oh my gosh, I mean, you can't lose. I can buy a house for $40,000 that's gonna rent for $750 a month. That kills the 1% rule. That's practically 2%. So it wasn't until later when I was running the numbers and I was like, I thought the 1% rule, like it fit, I should make so much. Here's the deal. What I found out about that particular market is that two of the primary main expenses of a multifamily deal are insurance and property taxes. And in that particular market, both of those as a percentage of the purchase price were astronomically higher than what I had experienced in California, which is where I was living at the time. Anyway, the big mistake is thinking the 1% rule is actually an analysis tool when in fact all it is a market analysis tool to see if you're in a place that might cash flow. But when you're actually looking at deals, you have to break down the actual numbers of the deal. Because had I done that, and trust me, I got deep into Detroit. So I had a lot of properties there. And when I finally realized, these don't cash flow quite as good as I thought, or at all in some cases, so that when you make a purchase, you actually know what you're buying before you own it.
Yeah, gotta know going in, right? Hey, you know what though? We just shared a whole bunch of embarrassing mistakes with you, but the thing is this, there is no failure. There's only feedback. So the way that we approach things are, we're gonna make decisions and we might make some mistakes, but we're gonna learn and grow from it and we're gonna fail forward, but there's really no failing. There's looking at it and what did we learn and how can we adapt and then how do we apply that to the future? So we want you to do the same exact thing. But we also want you to learn from the mistakes we already made. Make your own new mistakes, right? Be a pioneer.
All right, anyway, if you've been wanting to get started in multifamily real estate, whether you're looking to buy your first duplex or you're looking to buy your first 20-unit apartment building, we would love to be able to talk to you about what your goals are and how we can help you get there. You can click the link in the description to book a call with our team, and we'd be happy to see if there's something we can do to help your journey go faster and more profitable just from day one.
Absolutely. And we also have our multifamily Facebook group that you can join. There's a link in the description below. Click on it because every Wednesday we do a live Q&A where we bring you onto Zoom and you get to interact with us one-on-one and we answer your questions about real estate. So click and join.
If you want to learn more from us, watch that video. Jen did this amazing training on how to organize your business.
Yeah, so that you can just feel absolutely confident about what to prioritize, what to work on, and how to balance it all, right? So check out that video and we'll see you next time.